This is a lay of Loughshinny, composed by Diarmuid F. Fitzpatrick and presented to the Skerries Historical Society on the 28th of January 1954. John Dempsey was a citizen with energy and push, who lived 200 years ago halfway twixt here and Rush. His feet were planted in the soil, his eyes were on the sea, and he was dreaming all the while of things he hoped would be. He thought of Dublin, its harbour silk congested, the dread of every mariner, in its channel wreck infested. Dunleary was as yet unbuilt, and helmsmen were loath to risk the safety of their craft on the rocks of peerless Howth. A picture conjured in his mind of a harbour deep and wide, with fleets of ships Loughshinny bound on each succeeding tide. The packet boats from Holyhead were plying o'er the seas, and flags of every nation were floating on the breeze. The agents of the revenue in hiding were at hand to intercept the fisher folk who smuggled contraband. As commerce grew and wealth increased, the village waxed apace. A town became, a city then, a most important place. The Lord Lieutenant moved his court, and soon was imitated by all the great nobility, all newly rusticated. They talked of moving Parliament away from College Green and putting up the House of Lords where Dempsey's barn had been. The army shifted GHQ and the navy moved the fleet. The flowers of fair society abandoned Grafton Street. Ere long there'd be a Woolworth branch, a palm grove, nice and shady, a fitting background to romance for gentleman and lady. And Burton's wouldn't lag behind with tailoring for men. You don the garments of a duke if you've got the £2.10. Away with dreaming, Dempsey said. I now must realise it. My work alone can that be done, or else I should despise it. As plough that's drawn by double team cuts furrows deep and straight, if I'm to cleave a path to fame, I'll find myself a mate. A worthy wench he asked to share the matrimonial halter, and soon we see the loving pair united at the altar. John gathers up the ready cash, their fortunes great and petty. He buys the tools and hires the men, and starts to build a jetty. Perch by perch the tide recedes, by pierhead infiltrated, and in its lee the sea is calm and angry waves abated. His wife soon blessed him with an heir, a bonny, bouncing boy, a comfort in his later years, and his father's pride and joy. By adverse fortunes unabashed, right manfully he toiled. Each year he owned another perch, and his wife another child. But children are a hungry tribe, and food, alas, expensive. His bank account commenced to ebb, as family grew extensive. Then came the day when funds were gone and work was interrupted, and Dempsey high upon the rocks by greedy sea bankrupted. He said he'd see the government to help him to complete it. He was a man by obstacles, not easily defeated. He made his way to College Green and badgered them till heeded. He told them of his future plans and how much cash he needed. He made the members nervous and drove them nigh to tears. Said one, "This is the Commons, sir, and not the House of Peers." They said they had their sympathy, his plight evoked their pity, and that his case might be deferred, appointed a committee, which worked in Rip Van Winkle's style and duly hibernated, until the echo of his plans had in their ears abated. But John was not the quitting kind, and every second session he fired his verbal batteries to make a fresh impression. And like a record that's been scratched, his tale of woe repeated, there was in the course of time a new committee seated. They parted with a little cash, the purchase slowly mounted, the family straggled on behind, a dozen now they counted, And thus it was for 14 years he battled fortune's tide, and only lost his courage when Mrs. Dempsey died. And in a grave at Kenure, where sunlight seldom fell, he buried his beloved and all his hopes as well.